If you're scared of traveling alone and you want someone to talk you down from that fear so you can seize the day and take that solo trip, hi, I'm Nosheen, and by the time you're watching this video, I'm either on my way or already in Southeast Asia alone. I've traveled solo through countries in Europe, South America, Central America, and Asia, and I didn't do it fearlessly. I did it despite the fear, and I'm going to show you how you can too. This video is part of my ongoing solo travel tips series, so be sure to hit subscribe, give it a like, be sure to watch the other videos in this playlist. People often say, feel the fear and do it anyway. Well, I'm going to tell you how to do it anyway. The very first important step to take is to embrace fear as part of the journey. Because if you don't, you risk letting it stop you before you even get started. We have to learn to discern the nuances in fear. Sometimes fear is coming from our intuition and it is a sign to turn back. Other times, the fear is coming from our evolutionary survival instincts that don't always serve us in modern life. The thing about solo travel is it is such a transformative experience. What that means is that you change, you grow through it. It is something new for your mind to take on. And this doesn't only apply to your first solo trip either. I am in a Facebook group and I just saw someone post, and I see this post all the time, and I have written this post too. Someone's saying, I've got my flight all booked. It's coming up. It's around the corner. And all of a sudden, it's taking everything in me not to cancel it. All of her survival instincts are coming up. All of her defense and fear mechanisms are kicking in to say, danger, danger, cancel that trip. How could you actually travel alone? This is a normal part of the process, which is why I say embrace it. Know that it is normal. I have experienced it. I still sometimes experience it. It's par for the course. It is not a sign that you should not solo travel and that it's just not for you. It's just part of it. The next thing to do once you have made your peace with fear being part of the process is to name it to tame it. Get to know what exactly your fear is made of. Some of the most common fears might be, is it going to be lonely? I just did a previous video on that I'm going to link here so you can get the lowdown there. If that is your main fear, go watch that video. Another fear that comes up for people before taking a solo trip, especially women, is solo travel safe? And if that's you, I have a whole detailed solo female travel safety guide that I am going to put a link to in the description below. You can also download it by following the QR code on the screen. Another common fear is, will I get bored? If that's your fear, I want you to accept that you might and that it will be okay if you do. It might be uncomfortable, but it's going to be okay. Another really big fear is, what if something goes wrong? And the reality for this one is that your self-trust is built through the process of coming up in instances where something doesn't go according to plan and being able to see your way through it, proving to yourself that you've got your own back. If something goes wrong, if something doesn't go according to plan, you are capable enough, or you will become capable through the process of going through that experience. And either way, you will have it handled. A lot of times, the nature of the fear around solo traveling is buried in these what ifs. What am I going to do if this situation happens? If this situation happens? Our brain wants to prepare for every possible scenario. Really, it's about, I don't need to know the answer to every single possible scenario. I just need to know that I am capable of figuring it out. If you want more support as you prepare to take a solo trip, you can sign up to work with me. I'm going to put the link in the description below or the QR code on the screen. The reality is that you can't prepare for every situation because you can't foresee every single situation. But my next tip is to prepare as well as you can if you are scared of traveling alone. Whatever situations you are feeling most anxious about, think through them in advance. Have a plan for them. Break them down. Come up with your tactical game plan. It may or may not be the way that you actually tackle it in the moment if the situation arises, but it still gives you some peace of mind knowing whatever you are most anxious about, you have a plan for. The other thing I would say to someone who is scared of traveling alone but really intrigued by the idea is to start small and test the waters. And you have options for what approach you take to doing this. So you could start by taking a day trip or a weekend trip to somewhere close to home. Work your way up to it. Your very first solo trip does not have to be a 6-week trek on the other side of the world. It can be, but it really does not need to be that. Taking a smaller trip is going to help you gauge your readiness. And if you want a full solo travel readiness assessment, I have that in my ebook, which I will link in the description below. But also going out there and testing the waters this way will give you a gauge of your readiness level. Another thing you can do is that if you happen to have a trip upcoming with other people, go earlier, a few days earlier, or stay a few days later. Experience solo traveling before or after you've had the company of people that you also like to travel with. So there are ways to bridge yourself to a full-fledged solo trip. It's also important that you choose the right destination for you. Where do you feel excited to visit, but also a bit comfortable visiting? You don't have to go completely out of your element. I have a video on the best destinations for solo travelers for beginners, and one of the destinations I recommend in that video is Japan for many reasons, but I also don't necessarily recommend that everyone take their very first solo trip to Japan. It's really going to depend on each person, and I say that because even for me, going to Japan is probably where I felt most out of my element. It is where I experienced the biggest language barrier. So you want to think about how okay are you with that? Consider how big of a language barrier are you comfortable with? How long of a flight are you comfortable with? How far away from home are you comfortable being? And do you feel more energized and happy in big cities or smaller towns or out in nature? Really take the time to choose a destination that feels right for you. And you can play around with this by envisioning different destinations and feeling in your body which one feels most exciting but also doable, which one feels too scary and overwhelming and makes you not even want to go at all. Check in with yourself. This next step is so important if you are feeling nervous or scared to travel alone, and it is look for the success stories. Before I started traveling solo, I was only really met with fear or uncertainty from my loved ones who didn't understand why I wanted to go alone and why I wanted to go to Costa Rica by myself, and they had all their preconceived notions about it. It was really hard for their fear and their worries not to seep into my own. I had to really put some boundaries up mentally for myself to stay true to the path that I wanted. One thing I did that helped me was I reached out to a friend of mine. You're watching this video. I'll be your success story if you want. Reach out and look for those examples of people for whom traveling solo is just the norm. Traveling all over the world to different places is just another Tuesday. Tons of those people on TikTok and Instagram, right? Look for more of that. Flood your brain with that. Normalize it for yourself, especially when the people closest to you in your circle aren't doing that for you, aren't normalizing it just because it's not the norm for them. This is one of my cheat codes. Anytime you want to evolve into a newer version of yourself, find people who are already there and use them as your examples, as your models, as you work toward that for yourself. Another tip, if you are feeling scared to travel alone, is to activate your support network before you go. Have a plan for checking in with your loved ones. Who's going to be in charge of your itinerary from home? Who makes you feel most comforted and inspired in your life? Can you make sure that you have a couple phone calls or check-ins with them while you're traveling? Your support system can and should also include routines that you know for yourself soothe you when you're feeling stressed. It doesn't have to always be another person. For me, I know exactly what shows I need to put on Netflix to feel comforted. Whatever your familiar touchstones are, be aware of them and ready to deploy them. Another tip is to visualize, and I mentioned this in my How to Plan a Solo Trip video as well. I know it can sound woo-woo, but I do think that taking a situation, and I've also done this for meetings I'm nervous about in my daily work life, but taking any travel moments that you are stressed about or scared of and visualizing them going your ideal way can really help to calm you down, help you feel grounded, and help position you for that ideal outcome. Another thing you can do is talk to people. And maybe talking to people is scary in and of itself for you. But one thing I want you to realize is that when we travel, the places we go to that are so brand new and so unfamiliar to us are someone's regular Monday. Also, the chances that you are the only tourist and even the only solo tourist in a destination that you're visiting are slim. So go and talk with other people, make some connections, and that can a lot of times help alleviate our fear traveling alone somewhere unknown. Having an outlet for your fears can also be really helpful. So I recommend bringing a journal with you where you can capture your thoughts and process some of your fears and anxieties as they come up in real time. Finally, release your expectations. Solo traveling is not about showing up perfectly.